The state of globalization is undying, but instead unceasingly evolving. It's the buzz of the new millennium. The quality and impact of globalization has been the subject of extensive debate and concerns among scholars, being conceptualized into every aspect of human development throughout the world. Globalization itself refers to an open flow of information, technology, and goods among countries and consumers. This openness occurs through various relationships from business, geopolitics, and technology to travel, culture, and media. It's the perfect embodiment of the world's interconnectedness. It cannot be denied that the benefits of globalization have contributed to its adaptability and dominance in situating the world stand through its socio-cultural exchanges, economic integration, and technological advancement. It seems to contrast the consequences of interaction between the local and the global, that is, the change of local or unique cultures under the impact of the global exchange of information, capital, ideology, technology, and values. But what about the dark side of it, which is mostly unseen? The reinforcing depth of globalization will be presented in this video, particularly on the deeply rooted, hard-to-tackle chain of child labor. The pandemic has allowed us once again to see the undertable of this illegal labor market, where more children unable to keep up with rapid digitalization, they prefer to earn instead of learning. Along with the collected data and analysis compiled, this piece will examine through the expression of both the privileged children and those who are unprivileged enough to be trapped within the chain of child labor. Globalization has brought multiple benefits that improve the educational sector. First and foremost, with the increase of interconnectedness, the student demographic has become more diverse, such as happened in International Relations major in University of Gadjah Mada, wherein the international programs have encouraged student mobility and hence provide opportunities for students to have experiences and enrich their knowledge. Not only that, due to the increase of labor competitiveness, globalization has driven the education stakeholder to improve the learning system by supplementing skills upgrading programs, be it hard skills or soft skills, that the previous educational systems did not or limitedly include. For instance, the interdependence has urged learning institutions to incorporate language ability to the curriculum. Moreover, as education has become more flexible in terms of place, time, and cost, it has also facilitated more people to at least acquire the basic educational level. During the pandemic, the perks of globalization has become more apparent as the learning process could still endure amidst the health protocols that limit social interactions. Along with the accelerations of interconnection, technology has become more advanced, and social as well as education platforms have flourished, thus becoming an alternative for us to learn in the long distance. Additionally, globalization has encouraged the formation of an integrated network and opened up opportunities for us to learn from other perspectives, especially during the pandemic. So let me ask you, how many international webinars that have been organized by the global community that you have participated in? We believe most of us have the chance to attend multiple online teachings by numerous speakers in various subjects.
Negative aspects also come along with the presence of globalization in the context of education. As education becomes more complex with the development of materials and practices, certain groups find this gradual shift as unbalanced with their condition as they struggle to follow the growth of technology. Highlighting the limited facilities and the human resources in some areas, which implement the same education system as the more developed one, proves the partiality tendency within the education sphere initially intended to synchronize with the international standard. It is especially apparent during the current pandemic as rural areas find it difficult to hold online classes, resulting in either the temporary halt of learning activities or continuing it while bearing the risk of infection. Thus, it rather portrays the implementation as ineffective with a lack of inclusiveness within the education system. The phenomenon of education transformation due to globalization has further forced children to practice labor. Underage children become the source of income by their parents, or also in other narratives, the children themselves have the initiative to help their family's finances because of the crucial situation. With this, it takes away their rights as children to receive an education instead of looking for means to fulfill their needs. Due to previously mentioned lack of sufficient facilities, moreover with the spread of COVID-19, which has frozen multiple activities and greatly affected the overall financial field, it further encourages the normalization of child labor as it becomes critical based on the current increased numbers in statistics.
Theoretically, according to Halt and McGrew, globalization is the process of increasing interdependence and social interaction in all aspects of life that have involved more actors besides states. Globalization is composed of three components. First, material, in which the goods and people mobility have been supported by physical, normative, and symbolic infrastructure development. Second, the spatial-temporal aspect, as each operational level has repercussions on one another. And because of this, it has led to the cognitive awareness of people's perceptions of the shrinking world. As mentioned earlier, increasing awareness about global citizenships facilitates the transfer of knowledge as well as technology that encourage better quality and access to education. Nevertheless, not everyone gets the same quality of education because at the same time, globalization also promotes and sustains the liberal model of capitalism by promoting deregulation, liberalization, and privatization that fulfill a few groups' economic motive. The tight economic competition has produced vulnerable groups with limited social protection, and during the pandemic, their vulnerability has become more apparent. According to UNICEF, globally, the number of child labor has increased to 160 million, and in Indonesia, 938 children have decided to leave school, wherein 75% of them are caused by economic reasons. Many of the children ultimately have to give up their educational right to work in order to earn income to help their parents who have lost their jobs or to fulfill their own basic needs.
Various theoretical papers have been proposed regarding the possible cause of the difficulty in eradicating child labor. However, these papers are dominantly implicated with Basu and Fan's equilibria. According to Basu and Fan 1998, the wages specifically from the parents and child labor are interconnected in creating a poverty trap. It is due to the setup of bad and good equilibrium, where the former indicates that parents with low wages enforce child labor while maintaining their salary. On the other hand, the latter scenario points to the high-wage parents not sending their kids to work. With this, policies banned in practice came the main suggestion to eliminate child labor and prevent the implementation of bad equilibrium, which according to Basu and Fan is the primary indicator to break free from the chain of poverty, cited from Suarez 2003. It led to the Children Employment Restriction Law that was once implemented by the US during the early 20th century, targeted to reduce the child labor-dependent industry's growth rate and increase the cost. Yet the legislation only reduced the short-term growth rate up to 2% yearly, and most industries were barely affected by the law with an average reduction rate of 0.1%. Furthermore, it is implicated that developing countries might suffer a harmful trade-off from the possible large cost of restricting child labor. Nonetheless, the impact of the trade-off is still uncertain, as it only affects a few industries. Additionally, a play was made by those affected industries to lobby an exemption for them to obligate the child labor law. In short, the practice of dropping child labor from the industry to raise the cost is highly plausible, yet the obstacles during the implementation make the policy eventually become ineffective.
As analyzed, globalization accelerates unceasingly, making its progression inevitable. The blessing it brings creates a cumulative positive impact in the education sector, from rising interconnectedness that enriches students' learning experience, more stakeholders involved for educational progress and investment, and more learning flexibility anytime, anywhere. These abundant benefits on the education sector blinded us to see the actual reality around us, noting that limited education facilities and technological provision has lowered down children's enthusiasm and spirit to learn, but instead they prefer to earn in a destructive chain of child labor. The said unseen phenomenon has demanded calls for careful attention to the drivers of globalization's future, which could help the upcoming young generation to navigate through and even benefit from globalization's turbulence. The issue resolving primacy should be around establishing strict employment laws and regulations, raising corporate social responsibility through training and campaigns, and by providing more shifting opportunities for children in rural areas through technological and educational investment. A volatile world of partially connected worlds expand possibilities for global strategy, even as it complicates the management of learning process and knowledge production. Now is the time for the global community to show their value by harnessing the best of the world's capabilities to achieve prosperous and equal development globally.